The author of this book sent me this book, and what fascinated me was the title, God's Signature. I read through the book and I found it very interesting, and I decided to share it with you. In the book, the author at various times had been a houseboy, a salesman, a street dancer, a builder stroke a bricklayer. And then he fell off a 12-feet story building, fractured hip, he quit the job. He decided to become electronics repairman. When he thought everything was beautiful, on his knees praying fervently and fasting in church, somebody tapped him on the shoulder. Fire had gutted his house. Adversity struck. Disaster, trial, tribulation, call it anything you like. Adversity becomes a window of opportunity. Let's see how he responded to that adversity, and let's see what God had in store for him. The author of this book is our guest on this program. We'll talk to him right after this time out. Apostle Moses Grandeur, you're welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
What prompted you to title your book God's Signature?
Well, I titled the book God's Signature because I looked back to my foundation and I can just see that the handwriting of God is all over my life. There is no part of it where you can't see the hand of God, so that is why I had to title the book.
And maybe that's
God's
why you
Signature.
and that's maybe why you said, as for me, I started out a victim, a failure, a victim of circumstances and situations. You definitely don't look like a victim.
Well, once a victim, but not a victim.
We thank God. We thank God. Apostle, I was sharing it just before you came as I was introducing this program.
Okay.
You've been a salesman, a street dancer. After your father died, your life looked hopeless. What gave you the courage to go on after your father died?
I think that it was very divine. It was divine that after my father died, I just discovered that there was this inner strength, to continue with life. And the truth is, the biggest helping hand that any man could find on the earth is not from outside, it's from within. Because when my father died, I had hope in men. My father had several uncles, in Warri, and I thought that, I could just be accepted and continue life from there. In fact, actually, I thought it was an opportunity for me to live the village life, come to the township and have a feel of how the township looked like. And so I told my mom that I was leaving my village. It's about 30-35 minutes by flying boat, speedboat to my place from Warri. So I left, came to Warri, came to my uncle's place, with all expectation that I was going to be welcomed. And the reception was a closed door. I was returned, repatriated, so to say, from the gate. Sometimes it's amazing that we look for help where there is no help.
So you were disappointed?
So, yeah, I was disappointed. I left and I told my mom, that I was never going to return back to the village, without having something to give to her.
Your book, you said you were never going to come back until you were able
to buy her clothes.
Yes.
Now, you begin to wonder, why did I have to be specific about clothes? When my father died, in my present, I saw creditors, because, I mean, we have nothing to live on, so she had to keep buying stuff on credit, and people will come, and she had to pay them with her clothing, all her bags, her big boxes. They took everything. And I was wondering, this is my mom who used to dress so well, now managing with 1 or 2 clothes. And I said to myself, I must replace these clothes, So that was why I left. And when I got to my uncle's place, and he said, you can't come in, you have to go back and continue from where your father stopped in the profession my dad was doing, like tapping, this, what you call this native, how do you call it now? Palm wine, And I said to myself, no, that's not my destiny. It's true my father did that, but I'm not going to do that. So I went into town. To be honest with you, I slept on the 9/11 along Cemetery Road for that night. And then I woke up the next morning, went to the market side, began to help people, and I had a drive within me. I just sensed in me that there was a better future if I can keep pushing. And I pushed. I served people, carried stuff for the women, and from there I became a houseboy. And if your cameras are very sharp, there's a mark on my forehead that was put there by a woman who used a Gelin bottle, to bust my head, because I didn't eat about 4 days expired ever.
You did all these various jobs. You still were not able to send something to your mother from your book at this time?
At a time,
yes. Until you became a professional bricklayer.
Bricklayer, right.
And then you thought you had arrived. And then you fell off this 12-story building, and then you became electronics repairman. You had this workshop, you had so many customers. And then what happened?
Well, it is very interesting to know that it was while I was still, an electronics repairer, that I ran into the queen of my life.
And who is the
girl
queen?
of my life. My sweetheart.
From your book, you
my
said...
honey bunny.
From your book, you said 3 women rejected you.
Yeah,
Or 2 rejected you.
No, 3.
3 rejected you.
Yes, you see.
Why?
Yeah, because I was ugly. There was no future.
Okay.
There was nothing to, it's so, it's difficult for people to be able to embrace the skeleton and hope that it will form flesh. Now, I spoke to the first girl, never wanted to marry me because I was ugly. I was, there was no future. Spoke to the second girl and the third girl until I met this queen, this girl, this heaven maid. And I was still the same person that the 3 girls had rejected.
So she grabbed, or you grabbed the
I
opportunity?
grabbed.
Okay, you grabbed the opportunity.
Because opportunities and seasons are very slippery.
Yes.
And if you don't seize them, they slip away.
So I believe that after being rejected 3 times, I don't think you wanted to take it the 4th time. So the moment she said yes, you just...
Yes, I went. I just went. You need to know that I was 26 years and 2 months when I got wedded.
Okay.
And everybody didn't give me a chance.
And then you said your mansion, which was a small boys' quarters, that there was no room enough, and all you did was you stood at the door and you waved everybody goodbye.
I'm telling you, you don't want to be there. Now, yes. Now, that was on the wedding day.
Yes.
We wedded, we came back, the people came with us, came dancing, and then they wanted to know our home. They came to the home. And of course, I used my left hand to push my wife, my bride, inside. And,
into the 4x4 room.
Just, and then I came with a broad smile and waved everybody.
See you some other time.
Thank you. We'll see you in church on Sunday.
The fire incident, was it after you married her or before?
Just while we were planning our wedding. It was terrific. It was mind-blowing. But I also recall that it was as a result of my disobedience to the call of God. Okay. I gave him several excuses. One, I was not educated. 2,
couldn't speak English.
I couldn't speak English. My family and all that. Several things. And
you wanted to make money. One excuse.
There was nobody there that was there for my mom, because my 7 brothers had died and we're just 2 left, and I wanted to make money.
You said you were walking in disobedience. That's why the fire. What was the instruction? You already given us the reason why you disobeyed, and what was the instruction?
Well, the instruction was very divine, and that was the fact that God was calling me to do his work, to be an apostle to the nations. And this was like asking a man who've never been to the riverside to go swim in an ocean. It was very difficult for me to accept, because I didn't have the qualification and what it takes to be a preacher. So, I mean, to go and become an apostle to the nation when you can't even spell your name and you can't write it, that was very difficult.
Fantastic.
You know, so I tried to look for every excuses to avoid that, to escape, but you know, God caught up with me.
So the fire
thing came. You know, I lost everything. Like I said, I was praying, and then they came calling, and then I went in company of other brethren. We got there. The entire building is being raised down. It wasn't my building; it was rented. You know, several of us had our shops and houses in that structure that was raised down.
Were you not disappointed? Because in this book, in your book, you said at this point you were a worker in church. You were in the youth ministry, you were in the prayer ministry, you were praying on your knees. Were you not disappointed in God, that God would allow fire?
Yes, you know, humanly speaking, I was disappointed, I was discouraged. I was, like, if you read the book, actually I wanted to walk into the fire.
Yes,
and
so
just
Satan told you to walk into
Yes,
the
I
fire.
had a voice that just said end it, because if you are arrested, there will be nobody to come bail you. There is nobody, there is no back. You know, there is an adage in my place. They say, if you don't have back, you don't look for trouble. You know, but if, you know, so when you know that there's nobody to defend you. And so I was hearing that voice, walk into the fire, just end it up here. You know, but there was this other still voice that says, there is hope. It was very, very challenging. Because usually in the church, when you have tragedy, when you are faced with challenges, the people you expect to encourage you are those who will gossip you.
Even in the church.
Yes, in the church. And then they will tell you or tell people, I'm sure something must be wrong somewhere. You know, he may have missed it, he may have, you know, maybe committed sin or something.
Because everybody sees as tragedy as God's punishment.
Oh yeah. And many times they never see it as though God is actually giving you
a direction.
You know, a direction. You're going through a process. There cannot be a product without a process. You cannot label it without going through a process. And so many times, people abandon you when you are going through the process. But if you have confidence in God and in yourself, and you go through the process, the same men who looked down on you before will begin to look up to you.
Yes. So the fire got cut down, and they say in your book you say you were sleeping on a table in a shop or something.
That was the second incident.
And then that was
another fire.
So what happened this time?
Oh yeah. Well,
that was when you decided to hit the
finally. You know, you see, if you have a child that must listen to you, and that child does not hear when you call him or her, and the only thing that she or he hears is probably you have to draw his ear. So you will keep drawing the ear of the child until the child.
Drawing the
yes,
ear.
all right. So that was it. Now the first fire came, lost everything, and I was all by myself with my one trouser, one shirt, and then somebody offered me his store to stay. Now, if you go to Warri, there's a place that used to be called Uwa Guest House, right opposite former Word of Life church in Elere Road. That was where the store was. His name is Moses. He works offshore. Then he was a tailor. And I was lying down with his brother called Michael. We're both lying down on the ironing table when suddenly fire broke again in the same, you know, that same little shop. And then this time, there was no water, there was nothing to use. The voice came saying, obedience or death. And I screamed, I obey. And the fire went. Nothing was consumed. That was my turning point.
Okay, you now say in your book, you now had to go to Bible school, and here you were, you couldn't speak English.
Yes. Yes.
So
well,
how did you manage?
Yes, this is
I like
another,
that story.
Yes, that is another
But
very...
you're even spelling your name Moses, M-O-S-I-S.
Oh, yes. I think you are not here to come and to just mess me up. But anyway, it became obvious that God was calling me. Everybody knew God was calling me. And then one of my friends, you know, who was in school in Ayobo here in Lagos, IBTC, International Bible Training Center of the Deeper Life, picked a form and felt maybe with that, you know, that would spur me a little bit to move, to take some steps, and then brought the form. And I couldn't feel it.
Why?
I couldn't feel it because
you couldn't speak English.
There was no way to feel it.
It wasn't in your local dialect.
There was no way you could do what you couldn't do. You know, knowledge is not assumption.
That's true.
So what did you do?
So I had to call a friend. He's in town, he's in this city. He's a bishop of a church, of several churches, Bishop Isaac. He's alive. He was the one that helped me to fill the form, send it to the school. Now, but my encouragement was, you know, somewhere in the form they had said, you know, when he read it, that they would teach people in their native dialect. And so I said to myself, I have my dialect by
So you decided to write on?
So we went.
So you went, yes.
We went to the school and we had 1 week orientation. My best man, who is Reverend George, he is alive, was with me in the Bible school. We went together. We were there for the first day and then we went to the class.
And you had somebody at this point to speak your dialect with?
Well, that's my friend.
Yeah, that's your friend, yes.
You know, but in school, I couldn't cope. I could not just cope. First day, second day, third day.
So when they sit in class and they're teaching, you just...
Yeah, I just watch. Just watch on.
When they ask you questions, what happens?
No, nobody asked me questions. Nobody asked me questions. You know, and you know, when you don't know, you have a way of sitting in a place where nobody will ask you. So I make sure the class is almost filled.
Then you go to
then
the
I
back.
go to a place where the lecturer will never trace me. And I just sit down. You know, my friend George was there taking notes and then maybe copy back into my notes. I still have these notes.
In your
No, in English.
So how were you reading it?
No, I wasn't reading.
Just so that you look like you have notes.
Yeah.
You look like you came to school.
Came to school.
So what happened after that? Didn't you pack your things wanting to leave school?
No, now, on the 6th day of this orientation program, it became obvious that I can't cope.
Yes.
You know, so I just said to myself, I think I need to go back home. I called him, Reverend George, I said I was going back. And then that night, since Springbed Double Bunker in Ayobo Village, the hand of God woke me up and asked me a few questions. He said, Moses, the first man who spoke and read English, who taught him? And I said, it was God. He said, I will teach you. I woke up the next morning and I was as bright as any other student. Now, you see, Kumuye is alive. Falore is alive. These men were amazed at the intelligence and the sudden knowledge and ability to communicate and to cope with school. In fact, I was one of the best students out of school. In fact, to be honest with you, I was given a special office in school. I have notes for my Bible school that were copied for me, that were written those days by my friends from Ghana, from different places, helping just. But when this thing took place, it was like...
After that, what happened? You finished the school and then you went back to your lovely wife who couldn't have children before
that time.
Yes.
Now, no, before the school. Actually, we were in school because we had gone to a few places. You know, we needed a baby. My mom was itching, wanted a child and all. And we've been to 1 or 2 hospitals here, you know, and they said, well, we can't have children. And then I was in the classroom when God gave me the name of my first son. It was clear. His name would be called Limuel.
After doctors had said
yes. So I actually took permission from school
to go and give her a child.
Came back to my house and delivered the seed and went back to school. And the seed will graduate this year from the university as an accounting of, accounting.
A personal grandeur. Reading through your book, your name is Grandeur. I'm sure the Grandeur is not a name that you were given from birth.
Okay.
So how did that name come?
The name was given to me not because I was anybody, but because I was going to become somebody. You see?
In your book, since after you finished your Bible school, God has sent you at various times to Sapele, establish a church, Benin, and to Lagos. And I've read in your book, you sold your duplex, you sold your duplex, your house, you sold your car, you sold your wife's car, just to be able to fulfill the purpose. After you graduated, and then you started setting up those things and selling your items to buy how did you feel?
Well, the truth is, a seed, the potential of every seed is limited until it finds a soil to express itself. And so when I found God connected to God, I began to find expression. The truth is, everything you own is a trust. And if you can't give it back to the man who gave it to you, then you are greedy. Because there was nothing too much to be given to God.
But given it to
because the truth is, everything was a trust.
Yes.
He is the source.
And today Lagos is doing very well.
Lagos is coming up. It's coming up. It's coming up.
You know, Apostle, it's so difficult for somebody looking at you and you sitting here and telling us a story that you couldn't speak English. And you're speaking such great English. And you have written 15
Not really like you, I don't speak like you.
Apostle, I have not written any book. You have written 15 books. How did you manage?
You see, there is what people don't know. It's called inspiration. When God inspires you, you are enabled beyond you are able. You are enabled beyond your ability to do things. Every time the inspiration to write comes, there is this unction that won't stop until the book is done. I know I gave you a copy of the latest book. I did the first one for the year after this one. I used this one to mark my birthday.
Yes.
But I just done another one. And I'm writing another one. That one is called Father with a Feather.
For a man who says 3 women rejected you and that you were ugly, you certainly don't look ugly.
You see?
Did you do something, plastic surgery or something?
That's it. If any man be in Christ,
It's a new creation.
so God has done some plastic surgery.
Looking back through the years, where God brought you from, how do you feel?
Grateful. Just grateful. You know, full with a sense of gratitude.
It's been a pleasure, wonderful one, talking with you.
Wonderful.
I mean, the fact that God has taken you from nothing and made something beautiful out of your life will encourage somebody.
Definitely.
And I believe that the vision God has given you will outlive you.
Amen.
And we would like your wife to walk even on just for 1 or 2 minutes, and let's at least see this mighty angel, this angel.
This beautiful
This
lady.
beautiful angel.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please make
Welcome, Angel Mercy.
the one and only lover of my life, Angel Mercy Grandeur.
Apostle, thank you very much.
You are welcome.
And God bless you.
Thank you so much for the privilege. Thank you.
And I dwell on it today. The Bible says, humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, and he will exalt you in due season. It also says, do not despise the days of humble beginnings. I guess, like he said at various times, you heard the things he did. And today, walking under instructions and listening to the word of God, obedience and trust, see what God has made, something beautiful out of his life. Our young men and women today are busy walking the streets, perambulating, not wanting to do find something to do. I want either a bank job, oil company job, but let me tell you something. You must have an occupation. Whatever you do is for a time and a season. God is looking for men he can trust. And he cannot just trust you without putting you through a trial. The little things you do and God looks at the heart. You see, I tell people that reputation is what the world wants of you. What the world celebrates, but character is who you are when the doors are closed. And that's what God is interested in. And character comes after you have been tested. I guess today, God has tried him, God has tested him. God has made something wonderful out of his life. Go find something to do. For the end of the matter is always better than the beginning. The beginning is just a process. God is a God of process. God is not a God of cut and join. That's why people don't have stories. People cannot tell their stories because they don't have a process to celebrate. Out there, you young men and women and youths, whatever your hand finds to do, honest labor, there is dignity in labor. Do it, and God will richly reward you. Until I come your way another time, my name is Uduak Abasi, meaning God's will. See you some other time, and God bless you.
Me, nobody, a.k.a. me, I'm blessed.